Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel for another build. Now I wanted to do a build inside the new manor house we got in the premium shop. Now this house is Lady Tremaine from Cinderella. If you don't know, that's like the evil stepmother. This is her home and I kind of want to decorate it as movie accurate as I can possibly get it. So I decided to go in and kind of look at different movie scenes, see if I could figure out furniture that we have in Disney Dreamlight Valley that would work to kind of mimic the movie, and wanted to do a room for each different character that lives in there, as well as kind of like a grand entrance room, and see how accurate I could get it. And I actually really love how it turned out, but let's get started. So the first room I started with obviously was the main room, was like the grand entrance. So when I looked at the movie, it was kind of royal but also kind of not like a palace. It was royal and kind of fancy but not palace like, so I kind of tried to keep the balance between things looking quite posh and regal but also feeling quite natural and normal. And I knew that each room on the side was going to be for each character. So there was going to be one room for Cinderella, one room for the ugly stepsisters, and one room for Lady Tremaine herself. So I kind of wanted to mimic the doors to kind of match which room is for which character. And then I went in and just started placing a bunch of furniture that I thought would work in here, as well as looking at ones that were kind of as similar as I could possibly get to the movie. But in this room I kind of just had to let inspiration take hold, because there wasn't much that really matched the movie, to be honest with you. But there are a couple of items that I'll show you when I do the run, like the walkthrough later on, that were very, very similar. But for now I just wanted to get everything mapped in and go for kind of like a gold theme in here. Now quite a few of the items I used in here are from the Ultimate Edition that you actually can't get anymore. So if you don't have those, I do apologise that you can't get them anymore, unfortunately. However, the items can definitely be swapped out with something from Scrooge's. There are alternatives that will still work in here, and the rest of the items in here are all Scrooge shop finds. So if you haven't got those yet, they will be popping up in the Scrooge store. But there's definitely other things you can use to kind of achieve the same look without using all the items that you can't get anymore. Now obviously in the movie this kind of grand entranceway has this huge beautiful kind of swirling staircase, which obviously we can't mimic in Disney Dreamlight Valley. We don't have anything like that, but I tried my best to kind of mimic the rest of the furniture in the room and just made it look as similar as I could whilst also looking fancy enough before I moved on to the ugly stepsisters room. So in here I wanted to go for a very kind of pink girly theme. If we look at the movie, their room is kind of more pink tone. They have pink furniture. They do share a double bed in the film, I'm pretty sure, from my memory at least. But in here I decided to change it up and give them a separate bed each, just to make it a bit more obvious that both of them would be in here. And it just kind of made more sense to use these pink Encanto beds because they match perfectly with the pink walls. And I kind of then just dotted in a bunch of other furniture that I felt made sense for their characters and gave them kind of a girly kind of look, and I wanted it to kind of come across as if they were very spoiled and had everything they kind of wanted, and tie it all together that way. I did want to keep this room slightly similar to the grand entranceway, just having that kind of like gold theme and a lot of the similar items like the chandelier and things like that, just to kind of keep that kind of royal theme going in here, because I feel like that is what they probably would have had their room like in my interpretation of it. And it kind of just had similar things, but obviously had their own twist on it to make it kind of unique for them and what I feel like they would have in their actual room. After that, I moved on to Lady Tremaine's room, and before that I quickly forgot that there was another painting I wanted to add in the grand entranceway. It's like that bridge painting we have to finish on that wall. But then I went into Lady Tremaine's room, and in here I went for a very kind of dark purple thorny theme. So I used a lot of the different thorny furniture we have, just because if we look at her room in the movie, it is all very purpley and dark. And the only bed that I felt really was similar to her one in the movie, which is like this grand purple bed, was obviously the thorny one with the purple duvet and everything. So I knew I kind of had to tie everything into that. So it is very kind of a dark theme in here, but I did want to bring elements of kind of someone who enjoys the finer things in life and a bit more of a royal side to things, to kind of keep the theme going of kind of her view of herself and how she wants to be royalty and all these things. So I kind of tried to tie it all together by using that, but definitely went for a darker theme in here, and it kind of sets her room apart from the rest. And also as well, I feel like it kind of gives little hints to her villainous side and kind of makes it seem like the room of a villain, which she is. So that was my kind of thoughts behind this one. Once I pretty much got everything where I wanted it, I was kind of happy with the room. I do go in later on and change the wallpaper to something a little bit brighter. It still kind of sticks to the theme, but when I went back and looked at actual photos of her room in the movie, I felt like there was a different wallpaper that fit better. So I did go in and change that in later, which you'll see me change it. But I kind of just wanted to get the layout completely done and was happy with how all the furniture was looking, and did some little tweaks and changes before finishing it up. After that was the final room, which is obviously Cinderella's room. Now this one, obviously I didn't want to go for a traditional Cinderella room with the Cinderella items we have, with the grand blue bed and all that stuff, because I wanted this to be accurate to Cinderella's room when she is living with Lady Tremaine, which is obviously a very rundown room. Obviously her room in the film is a lot smaller. It's like an attic kind of room, and I couldn't really get that look. So what I went for was definitely a very worn down room, very not looked after, but I also wanted to use things that didn't really work in a bedroom to kind of mimic as though this was like a storage space. So in the movie you'll see there's kind of like pots in the corner and old furniture around where she's living. So I kind of wanted to mimic that by adding a kind of like tool set with some leaves, as well as some brown and plant pots and things like that in one of the corners. I feel like this just made it seem as though people would kind of shove stuff in here to store it, and it kind of had elements of things that she can do in here and her kind of character. But I wanted to add that in just as a little touch to kind of pay homage to the fact that her room wasn't very looked after and was definitely used as a storage space at another time. Now obviously in here I did want to include a bunch of pumpkins. Obviously I know that this wouldn't have been relevant in the movie, but as we know from Cinderella, pumpkins play a huge part in her kind of becoming who she is and the whole storyline. So I did want to place some pumpkins around just to kind of make it obvious whose room it is and kind of tie it all together by having those dotted about. As well as that, on the table I wanted to place a sewing machine, again to kind of mimic when Cinderella would make outfits for her sisters and kind of thick things up. I wanted to have that about, as well as I use one of Mickey's enchanted brooms that's from Scrooge's store, just to kind of mimic when Cinderella would be sweeping about and things like that, and kind of get it as accurate as I possibly could with her character. On the table next to the sewing machine I did put one of the little scramble coin figures of Fairy Godmother, just because I thought it was such a cute touch to have this in here. And then I moved some of the covered paintings that we get when our house is like first built in the game. I popped some of those around just to look like they're old paintings that have been stored in here, and they're kind of covered over and dusty and not really looked after, before I went in and kind of put the bed in and finished up the build. So this is the final build. So obviously this is the entranceway, and I really love how it turned out in here. I used one of the Beauty and the Beast gold couches because this really reminded me of a couch you can see in this shot here, which is in by the stairway in the grand entrance in their home. It's kind of a similar shape, so I felt like that was quite accurate, and then everything else I kind of had to interpret and assume how it would look, but I feel like I did achieve that kind of grand entranceway. Next, in the stepsisters' room, I obviously kept a very pink theme. I wanted it to feel very royal and princessy. I did give them separate beds, which is different to their bed in the movie, but I feel like the pink theme worked really well, and the Wreck-It Ralph couch is actually really scarily similar to the one they have in their room in the movie, so that worked really great. But I feel like I achieved a kind of very girly room in here, and I think it worked really well having their two separate beds to show who is staying in here. Next is Lady Tremaine's room, and you can see I did change the wallpaper to this purple Beauty and the Beast one. I feel like it worked 10 times better. It looked a lot more accurate to the one in her room in the movie. And I also kept a lot of purple furniture and obviously the purple thorny bed, because pretty much everything in her room in the movie is purple. It's a very purpley room. She does have this really big green carpet under her bed in the film, but I couldn't find one that was working. I did try the Wanderer rug from that set, but it wasn't quite right, so I just stuck with how it is. And the final room is obviously Cinderella's room. Now in here I think I managed to achieve a kind of very rundown storage kind of room. Obviously her room in the movie is a lot smaller, but you can obviously see things in the corners that are kind of neglected and thrown out. So I feel like I wanted to definitely include that in here, but also have kind of sprinkles of things that remind me of her character, like the little Fairy Godmother statue and the sewing machine, as well as the little broom. I feel like they're just little touches that really remind me of the movie, and I really love how it turned out in here. So here are some final shots of the build. I took a few in each different room to kind of show each angle. I think I really love the kind of royal theme I went for the entranceway, as well as the stepsisters room. And then I love how Lady Tremaine's room is a lot darker and a lot more villainous. And then Cinderella's room is obviously very rundown, very not looked after, but definitely has touches in there that really remind me of her character, which I really like. And I think you'd know whose room this is. So that is the final build. Let me know what you think down below. Do you think I missed any items that potentially could have been a bit more movie accurate? I'd love to know if anyone had any better suggestions. I did kind of raid my Scrooge catalogue and see if there was anything else that would work, and these were kind of the best options I came up with. But let me know down below if you have any different ideas. Also, let me know, what are you planning to put in Lady Tremaine's house? Are you planning to make it anything different? Are you going to try and do something similar to the movie as well? I would love to know. Make sure you like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Have a lovely week. Bye.